For our penultimate talk, we have Building Partner-Led Organizations by Megan Blissick. Please give her a round of applause.
Thank you. That is not me. Sorry, but I look different than that guy. Hi, guys. I'm Megan. I don't know if this presentation, this mic is working. Good? Cool. You can hear me? Fantastic. Show of hands, who's already had a drink? No? One person? Okay. All right, guys. Keep up the energy. The bar is open, and I'm way better to listen to after like 2 drinks. Fantastic. So I'm Megan. I think there will be slides eventually speaking. But quick introduction. I'm in the partnerships world. I'm actually director of partnerships at Orita. We are an AI company. We do AI customer segmentation for email, direct mail, and SMS. However, I did not start in e-commerce or actually in tech, anything similar to that. I actually started in fashion. So I have a master's in fashion. It is very useful to no one. But ultimately, I've actually had my career both in the fashion industry, on the retail side, as well as the agency space, and in technology. I have built 3 agency tech partner programs at this point in my career. So I'm here to talk to you guys about building partner-led programs, how to build in partnerships strategically to an organization. That is still not me. No worries, I can talk without pictures. So we're going to talk about partner programs. Show of hands, who here is on the technology side? Okay, that's a lot of you. Who here is on the agency side? Okay, awesome. So one of the really interesting things about partner programs in and of themselves is that you get to spend all of your time driving towards creating mutual value. So a lot of bringing in perspective from the agency side, from the technology side, as well as from the brand side is incredibly important. So we're going to cover how to drive that mutual value both internally as well as externally. We're going to talk about some of the key partner pillars, things that are really, really important to building a partner program. And then I'll give you a little bit of a sneak peek of how we do it at Orita. I'm an interactive person. If there's something interesting or you want more information on or something unclear, raise your hand. We can be interactive. Okay, awesome. Oh, I don't get no more clicker. Damn, I don't get clicker anymore. I love a clicker, guys. But yeah, please interact. There will also be time for Q&A at the end. But yeah, this is really for you guys more than me, so please jump in. Click. Yes. I'm just going to do that. The way that I look at partnerships and the way that I think is really valuable framing is to think of partnerships as a nexus of sales, marketing, and customer success. If you do partnerships successfully, every conversation you have is actually driving value to the people you're asking something from or something for. So there's a couple components of a partner program, and you'll see that all of these actually sit somewhere within sales or CS or marketing. But ultimately, a lot of the things that partnerships owns is making sure that anything that crosses that bridge in between 2 of these go-to-market functions is handled by the right parties. There's a lot of times where we can actually pull in additional resources from our existing partners, or we can pull resources from our internal efforts and provide them to our partners as well. So speaking from the technology perspective, one of the really valuable things we're able to do for a lot of our agency partners, for example, is co-marketing efforts. I have a marketing team. A lot of my agency partners are really stressed out. They want to put out content. They want to talk about the really great work they're doing with their customers. So we're able to provide joint case studies, for example. So it's kind of a marketing thing. It's sales material. It's also good for our CS team to be able to showcase some of the value. That's really where partnerships is able to connect all of those different pieces. So really trying to find ways that anytime you want to achieve something, anytime you have a goal, how do you frame it with who are you asking resources for and how are you giving resources back to them? Any thoughts, questions, comments, concerns here? Amazing. Click. Fantastic. So internally, you are doing a lot of asking. Who here is in a partnerships function? Okay, we've got a couple. Who here is in a sales function? All right, awesome. My sales folks, Have you ever brought a agency into a sales deal or a different technology product into a sales cycle while you're working it? I see no one raising their hands. Amazing. So one of the really interesting things that I found incredibly valuable is to seed someone that is an advocate of my product into a sales cycle. So bringing in an agency partner when I'm trying to sell a deal to someone and they say that they don't have an agency that's going to implement it or put it in place, this is a great way for me to send business to my partners and also seed someone that says, oh yes, I've used this tool with 9, 10, 12 of my existing customers. It works really well, and my team knows how to implement it to drive the most value. This drives business for my partners. This drives business for my team. This drives a closed sale for my internal team. So they have a reason to do the thing I'm asking for. What about CS side? Who here is customer success, support? Anyone on that side? I'm so sorry. It's the worst job. I ran a CS team for a bit. Whenever anyone goes home, please go thank your director, head of CS, your CSMs. They're the ones that constantly only get the bad things about your product, and they have to constantly say positive. Being able to provide additional resources to your CS team to give to your existing customers, incredibly valuable. Playbooks, guidelines, things like that, getting that information collateral from your partners that do want to get in front of your existing customers. These are really great ways that you can focus on supporting your internal team while also helping drive referrals and drive business for your partner base. And agency folks, I think I see one right up here. Do you like your tech partners that drive you business? Good. All right. It helps a lot in terms of actually getting that attention. Marketing is always a huge one as well. Being able to co-promote anything that you're doing, it adds a layer of validity to what you're saying. I can stand up here and tell you that Orita is the best software product in the entire world, and we have the smartest people, because we actually do. But it means a lot more when one of my partners actually says it, or when it's on someone else's website. It's providing content for them as well. Everyone needs content. I'm sure you guys were all in the AI session as well, and we're all having ChatGPT write articles based on ChatGPT. It's a downward spiral. But ultimately, being able to provide content that actually supports ourselves, supports our partners, and supports our clients, and then validates the work that we're doing through the lens of another source, it's incredibly helpful. And it really helps us strengthen the relationships you're spending your time building in the industry. So when someone shows up, they say, hey, I trust this agency, or I trust this tech product, I trust this software, and I see they're working with this company, I think I trust them too. All of these things ultimately shorten the pathway to building customer trust and building partner trust as well, and it really helps you differentiate your place within the market. Click. You get a beer after this. Awesome. So on the other side, everyone has goals within and outside of your organization. So these are my partner pillars for e-commerce technology. Agencies are different, and I think I cannot emphasize this enough. Any of you, I think about 65% of this audience, it looked like by show of hands, are a technology partner. Do you know what your agency partner manager is goaled on? And if you do not, then how are you going to deliver value to them? Understanding what the actual goals are, what the drive is of the partners that you have, and how you can make them look good to their clients, to their boss, how you can make sure they get their bonus or their raise or their promotion. Any of those pieces, the moment you're satisfying that, you have a really strong relationship. It is a back and forth. Partnerships is not sales. It is not marketing, is not CS, but it is all of those things, because ultimately is finding out how do you build a relationship between your company and another organization. And a relationship is a two-way street. If you only hung out with your friend and asked them for things all the time, and you always walked up and you cleaned out their entire fridge and then left, they're not going to invite you over their house anymore. So making sure that you understand where within your pillars you are driving value, and then making sure you're driving that value both ways, it's going to be incredibly helpful for your partners and within your internal organization, because I can tell you that at Orita, we actually built our entire company on partnerships. I am the first non-founding member of Orita, which is not a typical hire for any organization, but we decided that partnerships was how we would actually structure our entire organization so that we could get product feedback, that we could actually build something that people wanted and that would give us real feedback about whether or not it was working for them or not. We've been building our integrations based on where our partners are and who they're actually building into and what roadmap they believe in. And then we're building our agencies based on who can we actually drive business to and who can we build really strong relationships with.
What is Orita?
Glad you asked. Orita is an AI customer segmentation. I know my pitch. Orita is an AI customer segmentation tool for email, direct mail, and SMS. We plug directly into Klaviyo, and we read all of the data that exists within an email marketing program, which can allow us to know a couple really important things. Who wants to receive an email right now? Who does not want to receive an email right now? Who here gets promotional emails from brands that you actually like? No one likes any brands? Wow. All right. Do any of you shop online? Well, this is an e-commerce event. Someone should buy things on the internet every now and then. Otherwise, all our customers are in trouble. Who gets too many emails from brands that they like? Yeah. If you only got emails from brands that you liked when you wanted to hear from them, would you be a happier person? Amazing. Bye, Orita. I'm not in sales, clearly. But that's ultimately what we do is we help brands identify when to talk to the right people at the right time. Email, direct mail, SMS. If you are sending less and more effectively, it actually matters when it shows up in the inbox. It is harder for emails to show up in the inbox these days. Gmail, Yahoo, they have restrictions on your open rates, click rates, etc. So things will go to spam. Check your spam box at some point today. It is funny, but a lot of brands you know and shop at will end up in spam otherwise. So sidebar on Orita aside, that's ultimately how we look at within building out our org. Who cares about email marketing? A lot of email marketing agencies. What are the challenges email marketing agencies face? And can we build out more of our product suite to help hit those needs and get those needs off the table so that our email marketers can do things that are more impactful and actually drive towards revenue goals for their customers? How do we make more money with less? Because everything is getting harder in terms of email marketing and marketing across the board. Any other questions on this one?
So is it only Klaviyo?
Right now, only Klaviyo. We're building out integrations to a handful of other platforms, and then we work with Postpilot for direct mail. SMS is coming soon.
So your partnerships are with agents or people who use these email marketers, etc. That's your partnership. It's not Klaviyo because you only have one.
So we do have a really strong partnership with Klaviyo and with Postpilot, and I think that's a good time for a click, because I think that's the next picture. It's the one after that, but we'll get there in a minute. So we have partnerships with integration partners, so Klaviyo, all the other email platforms that we're building out with, so Iterable, Braze, Attentive, Salesforce Marketing Cloud, with Postpilot on the SMS front. So we have a really strong partnership on that integration front of telling that better together story. On the agency front, we work with email marketing agencies who have a really direct line of business into what we're doing so that we can actually help add value directly to their email marketing program, as well as Shopify dev design agencies because they're building out lifecycle marketing programs. And so having key differentiators within your lifecycle marketing program, especially as competition is getting harder, and having a really robust tech stack, knowing those things that cannot be Googled is a really valuable way to maintain your status as an agency. Email, dev, design, direct, digital. I worked at a digital marketing agency for a while, and really having that thought leadership component was the number one indicator of customer retention when we ran all of our statistics. If our customers did not feel like they were getting thought leadership, they would churn within 6 months. Any other questions? I love this. Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's a really good question. You have a lot more agency partners than you do customers that are looking for agencies. And I hear this across the tech front a lot of my tech people who finds it really hard to refer business back to agency partners. Yeah, it's a constant challenge. And this is a big part of why all of those slides before talk about driving that internal value. Give 3 times before you ask. Before you ask your salespeople to introduce a new agency and make sure that you've been providing them leads. Before you ask your CS team to start scoping out if that customer needs a new partner, make sure that you've provided them value. And again, always package this as a way to drive them more value, right? If I can seed that advocate in the sales cycle and help close that deal, then my salespeople will go out of their way to find out if that company that they're prospecting actually has an agency they're working with, right? And if I can just get my salespeople to say on every pitch, every prospect, even if we don't close that deal, but I was able to seed an agency into that conversation, and maybe 2 or 3, and I tell them ahead of time, I'll introduce you if it's relevant, and you still have to go close it. If you build in those internal relationships and you make sure that there's a value add to the ask that you are giving, you'll be able to deliver back to the rest of your org. It's not easy. It's not. And this is the hard part, is a lot of companies are coming from behind on partnerships. I see very often that partnerships is an add-on. It is a secondary thought. It is now that we already have these other components built out. But this is really what we've been doing a bit differently, is starting with partnerships as that nexus and making sure it is connecting the rest of the go-to-market organization, even into the product side, that product feedback is getting back to our engineers and our developers so that we're not going in the wrong direction. But if you continue to keep the mentality of giving and making sure that you are adding value everywhere that you are making an ask, then you'll be able to drive value both internally and externally to your organization. Here's my other spicy takes, because I feel like I had to do that because it's late in the day and I appreciate you guys being here. This is a really fun space. The partnership space, it's fun. We throw parties for our jobs. My mom still has no idea what I do. She just sees pictures and she's like, okay, Meg. But ultimately, like, you will have a lot of people that you build relationships with within this space that, you see on the same circuit. You have very similar clients or customers you're throwing events with and pieces like that. But it's really important to differentiate what partnerships make sense for you and what partnerships make sense for your organization. And it can be really challenging because people that you absolutely love to work with and you may have already had a partnership with at a different company will move to other places, and it won't make sense to have a working relationship for some time. It's really important to stay focused on making sure that you can actually drive mutual value with a partnership. And if that doesn't exist at the time being, it's not worth pursuing. It's worth keeping a conversation open, maybe checking in a quarter, but being discerning as to your partnerships and not just throwing money at each other to sell each other's products. It's really important to actually driving value. This one's on here because I got a very annoying LinkedIn message recently that said, hey, Megan, do you want to have a secondary income stream? I'm like, well, of course I do. But why don't you sell our product for us and we'll give you a 10% rev share? I'm like, absolutely not. I'm not going to take the time to learn everything about someone else's company and then put my reputation on the line to get 10% of whatever their contract value is. And neither are your partners. Rev share is a nice to have. It is not a pillar of a relationship. If your product does not make sense for your partner, they should not be recommending it so that they get a couple dollars in their pocket. I'm very passionate about this. If I had my way, we would not have rev share at all, but it is an industry standard. I do warn you, though, this is a very tricky subject. Be careful building out your partner program. Have a rev share in place if you do. It's, again, a nice to have, but it should not be a foundational point of your relationship that's transactional because, as we know, good relationships are not transactional. Make sure that there is mutual value, and I will keep saying it over and over. That's the only thing you have to remember from this whole talk. And that mutual value does not stop at 10% or 20. Click. Cool. Here's a couple ways how we do it at Orita. So, like I've said, partners first. let your partners be your worst critics. They're the ones that are usually putting in place your technology, which is also a really, really good way to get feedback. And these are the people that have taken the time, energy, and effort to learn about your product and put it in place with their customers. So if they tell you something's not working, something's not working. And whether it's that you're not getting the right information to them for them to actually understand it, or they're not using it in a way that was intended, which means you need to fix the UX or UI, make sure that they're asking for more. Nothing should be fine, and this is the easiest way to actually get continuous value-adding feedback. Build out service offerings that make sense. Like we talked about with some of our agency partners, we're building out a service offering so that they can stand apart from other agencies. With Klaviyo, with Postpilot, with our integration partners, we're building out offerings within their teams so that they actually have something that sets them apart by keeping our relationship strong. And listen a whole lot, ask so many questions, be really curious. You have no idea what will come up and what value. If you're trying to find ways to seed value for other people and you're asking all these questions, you'll find some really, really interesting things you didn't know to look for by constantly talking to people in different spaces that know someone else, that see a different perspective. The one thing I'm most grateful for in my career is having worked on the brand side, agency, and technology, because I get to bring perspectives that I would otherwise not have to every conversation. So if you're talking to someone that sees things so different than you, just ask a bunch of questions. It shouldn't have anything to do with your product, right? Like, you know your product inside out, backwards, and sideways. You know your service offerings the same way. So find out what's happening on the other side of the phone, and it'll really help you better understand how to build in that mutual value. Click. These are just pictures. These are some of the ways that we really showcase our partnerships, our relationships. We make it front and center on our website, on our LinkedIn. We are loud about the people that we partner with, and we make sure that we showcase our friends. Can go to the next slide as well. We do the same thing with our integration partners. Again, be loud, showcase your partnerships, your relationships, show the really good work that you're doing together, because it's a lot of effort. None of this is easy. I've done this many times. I still am learning constantly things that work or don't, or work in one case and don't in the other. Continue iterating and testing. Be loud with your successes. Be kind of loud with your mistakes, but, fix them. And continue drawing on your peers, your partners, your resources, your mentors for that continuous feedback. I think the next one's just Q&A slide, so you can go on that one. Yeah, but any further questions? Yes. It's a really good question. In case anyone didn't hear, are partnerships right for every type of product? I think a type of partnership is right for every type of product. It might not be agencies for a product that you're selling. It might be technology solutions. It might be integration partners. And there's different pillars of partnerships that make sense for different companies. To give some examples, I used to work at Signified, a fraud prevention solution. We built into every e-commerce platform. We were fully baked in, so we were agnostic. So there were partnerships with Adobe agencies and Salesforce Marketing Cloud agencies. And when I moved over to the email marketing space, I realized those weren't the right partnerships to pursue at this time. There's not a clear enough value add for an Adobe agency to be recommending a software that lives within another software. So there's correct partnerships out there. They might not be the ones that are right for Orita are right for you, but taking the time to figure out who the right relationship is, and like I said, your friends are your friends, and your company friends are your company friends, and taking the time to explore, is there an option here? The answer can be no, and that's just as valuable of information as yes. So explore what partnerships actually you can tell a story that makes sense for both of your companies and makes both of them better at the same time. Any other questions? If you ask a question, I will get you a beer at this very open bar. I see a question. No? Just excitement? Just like, wow, this is the best presentation ever. Yes?
So, Orita instantly sounds like you could potentially sell your product to the agency almost to improve their client performance versus selling to clients
Absolutely. Talking about highlighting your mistakes. We tried that. It did not go well. But this is a really important part of learning. So yeah, so what Orita does is we effectively replace typical time-bound segmentation within Klaviyo. So you're basing engagement off of every metric that flows through an ESP. So ratings, reviews, returns, not just time-bound, but patternistic. Does Diana come and shop every 3, 6, 9 months? However, there's a lot of in the weeds things to do when it actually comes to implementing this and changing over your segmentation strategy. So we tested selling directly to an agency at one point, and their customers didn't understand what was happening. So then they were forced to secondhand explain to their customers why a quarter of their list was not receiving emails anymore. And then our poor agency partners overwhelmed by trying to explain a product that secondhand to 40 of their customers at the same time. So we rolled back on that strategy, but we still think there's an opportunity there of building into a service offering, which is what we're doing and coming in when that customer comes into the agency itself and making sure that we're part of their day one launch. But it is important to test and learn and try something, and it may not work, but again, like, you learn as much from the no's as you do from the yes. Any other questions? I love this. Yes.
Where do you find success in
Good question. I'll be entirely transparent. I go onto Klaviyo's partner page and I work my way from the top down because we primarily work with Klaviyo, and their master agencies are the ones that started utilizing us first. So I go to them and I say, your partners are using this, here's the customers that are using this. It's taking time off your team's plate, and we can help speed up your sales process as well, and let's see if this actually makes sense as part of your strategy. So I think once you find that space that is making sense, once you find a couple partners that do make sense, look for ones that look like them, but also doing some of those things of being loud, highlighting the relationships that we have, has actually brought a lot of our partners inbound. So we've done some outreach, not as much cold outreach. We have partnerships with Klaviyo, Postpilot, so they introduce partners to us as well. They say this is working for the other people we're working with, you should talk to them. So leveraging some of those relationships as well, but start with what you know works and then expand out from there. Yes. Ooh, that's a, because we started with yours truly, about 85% of our pipeline is directly from partners. We do get inbound. I would say like that would be like 5 to 7%, and then we also do like events, outbounding sales efforts. But most of our pipeline comes directly from our partners, whether it be at events or just talking to them directly. But yeah, it's very different than most organizations because we have focused on building it that way. Any other questions? Or do I set you all free to the bar? All right, thank you all so much. I know this is the last talk of the day. I appreciate it.